The thing about Walz and the problem with him is that, much like Kamala, it's like a perfect ticket. He's in over his head. Like, he is not.
At least he's held an executive position.
Sure, I understand that, but I'm saying that
did you hear what Tim said? Tim Black was saying about him. Like, he finds him really creepy. I didn't find it, and like how he acts is really strange. I just find him like almost like Elmer Fudd, like almost not like real. And I don't know. He seems like the coach, and that's cool. That's cool.
I think what's happened is that this is a campaign where neither candidate is allowed to speak freely. So they have to basically just do what they're told. And if it looks like they're complete fools in the process of doing so, it really makes it look bad. And this is another example of what we are in store for. Because if they win, there's this idea in people's minds that if Harris Walz wins, that somehow things are automatically going to change. They're going to open up. No, this is going to get so much worse if they end up winning.
Again, guys, we're going to hell. I want everybody to be very clear. I love to sort of like bring in that Jennifer Lawrence character from Don't Look Up. We're going to hell, people.
And listen, we're not going to be able to talk. Yeah, we're not going to be able to talk about it tonight. We're going to talk about it on Monday with our good friend. We're having a crossover podcast Monday night with Jamal Thomas. So that will be a fun conversation.
Yeah, no surprise, guys. But we are now, of course, having issues with Sputnik because, everything Russia.
Okay.
So Jamal is back doing his own independent thing. And yeah, he's great. I love talking to him.
He is great. And he's going to come on here and we are going to talk about the fact that it now appears, Jen, that we, the United States Air Force, have actually been dropping bombs on Gaza. That's a little tidbit that we're going to get into. It's a little early, but some stuff came out earlier today, and I'm sure it's probably true. So,
you know what? Let them, as long as somebody, I know there's people keeping track, because when the reconciling comes for this, and there will be a reckoning for this, people, make no mistake. I really do. I'm glad that we have all the video proof that we have for all the right people to be criminally prosecuted. That's what I mean, honestly. And this is definitely, and if they think that by that getting out, that they're going to be able to increase their enlistment numbers, they're nuts.
The person who's trying to be the next vice president, the governor of Minnesota, listen, I think he's great. He's done a really good job in my state. It's unfortunate that he's not. I should have been the vice president. Jesse.
Yeah, but Jesse wouldn't deal with the Democratic Party.
That's true. So it is what it is. But good old Jon Stewart was not going to let Mr. Walz get away with thinking that accepting the support of good old war criminal Dick Cheney is acceptable political gamesmanship.
I was curious how Jon Stewart would approach that, because he definitely had a lot to say about Dick Cheney for years.
He sure did, and he didn't forget.
You met people that appear to be somebody, because what I know of people who say, oh, I'm undecided, you talk to them for 30 seconds and you're like, oh, you're a libertarian. Yeah. Like they have what their deal is already set up. Yeah. They just sort of place themselves in this, I don't know yet. Have you felt, what's been an effective argument that you felt has pulled people closer to you?
Well, it's a lot of, the folks I'm talking to on that, they're folks that are they are Republicans, and they say it. A Republican introduces me in Omaha. He said, I can't stand with this guy anymore. That's not the party of Reagan. This isn't freedom, whatever it may be. It's a lot of those folks that are trying to find permission to get off the mega stuff and move over. So there's.
But he's saying the party of Reagan.
But Kamala, by the way, people, just so people understand, Kamala, and actually it's not even just her, the whole party, like they are all to the right of Reagan. There was recently, I just saw a clip of Reagan. It was actually at the debate between him, George H.W., and I forget who was the third person in there. Who was the third? There was three of them. This was a long time ago. And it was Ronald Reagan talking about the importance of helping immigrants. Like it was so, and people, all these Republicans that revere Reagan, but yet you are so far to the right. Like the stuff that they're doing regarding immigration was not at all what Reagan was about.
No, we'll continue.
Still listening. They're finding a way.
How do you convince them that the things that will be done in your administration will impact their lives in a tangible way.
Yeah, they need to feel it. I oftentimes talk about this as a teacher. You know, the Maslow's hierarchy is self-actualization. You got to have a lot of time on your hands, money to self-actualize. They're worried about, and when they say that they're worried about the economy, believe them, they are worried about the economy, or they're struggling. You can't tell them, well, inflation's down, interest rates are coming down. They need to see the tangible things that'll make a difference. So talk to them what a $6,000 tax credit looks like, as opposed to a Trump tariff that would add 20%. These are folks that want to find a reason to not vote for Donald Trump. We need to give them that.
If I were to look at this as an alien stepping into this election, just from the commercials, I would think that Republicans vote on two things: stopping people from coming over the border and stopping trans people from playing sports. Like, those are the only two commercials that I've seen.
Yeah.
And the Democrats, oddly enough, run on two things as well: stopping people coming in from the border. They've accepted it. Like, all the Democrats that are running for Congress and for other offices here in New York all talk about the border and then choice legislation.
Yeah.
And you would think those are the only two things that are going on that anybody is talking about. So it's interesting to hear that one-to-one, it's more.
Jen, please educate the people of what happened in South Florida when you were considering running and you spoke with one of the leaders of Broward County Democratic Party politics.
Oh, you mean about what I'm
matters?
Sorry, you mean what the solution was?
Yeah, how are we gonna make the Democratic Party better? What do we have to do? And what did she say?
I'm not sure who you're referring to. I'm not sure you're referring to her because, like, I'm not sure. I'm really
guns and abortion.
Oh, well, that's all they have is guns and abortion. What do you
That's
mean?
all we're focused on. Oh, voter registration and the Second Amendment.
Oh, yeah, no. That's okay. So, yeah, a couple years back, I was talking to the local chair of our Broward Democratic Party, and this was actually after a midterm where things were bad. And I went up to her and I'm like, okay, so now what's the plan to, like, really bring voters and, like, really try to get people? And she looked at me and she went, all we're doing is banning assault weapons and registering voters, and that's it. And she actually did that with her hands in front of me. That's it. And as if any other policy ideas were just unnecessary. We're just going to stick with banning assault weapons. That was their big policy here in Florida.
And this is why Stewart is basically saying, yeah, this bullshit's not selling. It's not working. Not working.
Economy.
Well, they ask people to rank the issues where they're at, depending on where you rank it. And look, these guys figured out early, fear is a great short-term motivator. I often say I supervise the high school lunchroom. I know fear works. It doesn't, but it doesn't change behaviors. And I still believe that there's this aspirational piece and really listening to where people are at. In small towns, these are not hateful people, but they're wondering, where did their manufacturing jobs go? Well, Donald Trump shipped them overseas, tariffs and things like that.
All right. Okay. You know something?
How did he say that with a straight face? This has been the third way DLC neoliberal Democratic Party takeover wet dream forever. Who started this? I started this. It was Bill. Well, look, the truth is a lot of that started even before, but yeah, this has been nothing to do with, Trump certainly wasn't going to help the situation, but at least he stopped the TPP.
I totally stopped it. It was the best thing. And here's the thing. You and I both know that if Hillary Clinton got in, she would have passed the Trans-Pacific Partnership just to one-up her husband. I believe that if Kamala got in, that Hillary will still seek to do all those same things. So that's what I think. I know that the emphasis is on him basically trying to defend the endorsement of having Dick Cheney, but this statement is insane. It is insanity. So interestingly, Denise says let's put this up because it's interesting. Yeah. From 2005 to 2008, I helped Deloitte move several Chevron sites to South America. Which POTUS was that? Interestingly, you got two. Well, listen, you got two POTUS. I don't really remember being president at the time, but I'm sure if I did it, it was a good thing. But just like in the same way that Joe didn't stop the wall or, undo some of the things that we don't like, the tax cuts, the stuff from Trump, Obama kept all the same stuff that W was doing with that. So again, this has nothing to do with party. Oh, he seems so in his element right now, I tell you.
And I actually do believe that this guy, first of all, Minnesotans, I do like, he probably is just like Joe working guy and probably does care about those people.
Sure.
But once you sign on to be with this program, you have to discard that. So it kind of doesn't matter. Also, it doesn't really matter because vice president's kind of irrelevant. So
It kind of is, but it depends on which one. I wouldn't say that Dick Cheney was an irrelevant vice president.
Well, no, but that's unusual. That's not normal. Well, and the second term of Reagan, but we were better off that way. Anyway,
Former President George Bush.
Well,
make sure we're making the case that, look, here's how this is going to specifically impact you.
Right.
We hear you about this.
You know, I can't think of a vice president in recent memory that used a shotgun irresponsibly. Nothing comes to mind.
That's right.
How is that? The Cheney thing. Do we really have to do that?
Look, it goes broader than that. Look, Bernie Sanders, Dick Cheney, Taylor Swift.
No.
That one. The shooting?
No.
Having the Cheneys on board?
Nah. You can't Dick Cheney or Taylor Swift. No.
We're a big tent.
What country did Taylor Swift get us to invade? No.
Yeah. No, don't you think, though, that, and I do this, I believe this, there is still a core group of folks out there, you know, your point being, and not joke, the don't tread on me, the Reagan piece of this, the libertarian piece, but the constitutional piece, there are a lot of people out there. I think Liz Cheney and Dick Cheney give permission to those folks who want to find a reason to do the right thing. It doesn't mean they agree with us. We're not going to take their foreign policy decisions and discussions, you know, and implement those. We're going to take their
promise.
Yes, promise.
All right. First of all,
did you hear the 2 or 3 people that tried to clap in the audience and that didn't?
You just freaking can't. I do believe that the thing with Liz Cheney is just that she has a chip on her shoulder because Trump got her beat.
Absolutely.
I think that this is just payback for her. To say that somehow the Cheneys are aligned with the Constitution, like to even mention that is so off the wall to me. Dick Cheney has violated so many constitutional and American laws. Like it's just off the chart. He really should be in prison.
Well, people really do have they have short-term memory. It's like they truly forget just how I've been, you know, I'm 41 and I'm sure you would agree. For as long as you've been on this earth, I never had an uneasy feeling in terms of where we were as a country, like I did when Bush and Cheney were in the White House. I had this very uncomfortable feeling.
But that also coincided with 9/11 and the aftermath of that. And so you don't necessarily know. I mean, I knew he was a moron to begin with, because again, I was living in Texas. He was the governor, and that was in 2000. And so he's exactly what I expected him to be. I thought the whole thing was off the wall, but so he's a moron. I had no expectations for him. But you know, why do you think they're any different, or that tangent like that, you know, or trajectory, like it would have been the same.
It's fair.
It doesn't matter.
That's fair. I don't disagree.
Would Gore have done all the same things? Probably not. But do I think that overall the military industrial complex would be where it is now? Yes. Just like I think that Kamala will bring us to a slower demise than Trump, but we're still going in that same direction.
The one thing that I do think we would have, I've always felt this way. Do I think neoliberalism would have continued to ascend if Gore had won in 2000? Yes. I don't think that there's much of a debate about that. The one true difference that I think we can agree on that would have happened if he had gotten in. For one thing, obviously, the Supreme Court would have probably gotten more liberal, because I believe there were 2 seats that Bush filled between 2001 and 2005. Guys, correct me. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Jen, but I believe Bush sat Roberts and he sat Alito. I believe that those were the 2 that he sat when in his first.
I mean, it's very foggy to me, but that sounds right.
So I do believe, obviously, the Supreme Court would have been different at that time in that regard. And then the other is I do think we would have gotten much further ahead in terms of the climate change game if Gore
And I
was
wonder
there instead of
how.
Bush.
And I
You
wonder
wonder.
how.
You wonder.
And
You
and
do.
with the neoliberal lens, where we would be with the climate game would be like the whole Tesla concept on steroids, where we can just capitalize green energy so that we can create a profit situation, really not giving any crap about
That's
the
a fair
effects
point.
of the earth. So I do think there would be a lot more quote unquote efforts. You would see a lot more things happening, but would those really be things good for the environment? I don't, not if, to me, neoliberalism is completely contradictory to caring for the planet.
Well, it really comes down to whether or not you're willing to sacrifice any form of profit. And as we have seen, that's a non-starter.